that inhibit workers from going to rival companies. Cisco's Mark Chandler says they rarely use them.
I certainly have seen cases where people have had to turn down increases in wages and increases in their own personal opportunity because of being restricted by their employer.
The administration supports legislation to ban non-compete agreements for employees making below a certain salary level. Pam Coulter, CBS News, the White House.
65-year-old woman says now, after 25 years of living happily in her tree house, Miami-Dade County's inspector told her she can't live there because the tree house is not up to code. Shawnee Chasser says she protested the Vietnam War and nuclear weapons. She'll fight to live in the tree.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Here's what advertisers are saying about AM 1240. HotNewsTalkRadio.com.
Radio station, they really care. They're always calling me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things go, and see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, seeing what my needs are. I've gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got. It seems like everybody over there cares about what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end. And we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard. And they always seem to be right on point, even without us having to come up with what's going to be said.
I've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement. The commercials are great. They're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guaranteed, by far.
AM 1240, HotNewsTalkRadio.com gets results. Let us get results for your business. For no obligation free consultation, call General Sales Manager Steve Johnson. Call 423-240-5459. That's 240-5459. Or you can always email Steve at NougaRadioSteve@gmail.com. That's NougaRadioSteve@gmail.com. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. We get results.
You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. Appreciate you. If you know what today is, raise your hand. I can't see your hands. This is radio. But if you said basketball, you would be correct. It is the first day of the NBA season. Also, high school basketball is returning. We will try to find a way to get more of that because there's a lot of great Chattanooga basketball. Just quite frankly, if we're gonna go ahead and say that. So we've got all of those things for you. This is a basketball show, okay? We're doing it because I want to do a basketball show. It's not going to be like this all season, but it's going to be like this today. All right, hoops, man. The NBA season is starting. Also, the Chicago Cubs play tonight against the Cleveland Indians in the World Series. The battle of the losers. Somebody's got to give, and something's got to give, and I hope it's Cleveland. Right? Here's the thing about this game. Cleveland, the city, already has their championship with the Cavs, right? The Cubs haven't won in so long, and I like saying that the Cubs haven't won in a very long time. I've mentioned this many, many times. I will mention it many, many times again, so long as the Cubs continue to allow this thing to be a fact. But the Cubs do need to do something tonight that maybe seems a little bit extreme. And I'll tell you what that is after I tell you how you can find us on the interwebs. That is, if you check out Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and search Hot News Talk Radio, boom, you got us. You can stream live video of all of our local shows here at Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, on YouTube. You can also stream us live on Facebook, all of our programming. Plus, there's a lot of Facebook Live videos, which I'm sure you'll see those as soon as you log into Facebook during any of our shows. Also, make sure to check us out on Noogaradio.com. That is Noogaradio.com, NOOGARADIO.com. We stream everything, not just the local stuff, everything. Sean Hannity, Colin Cowherd, Alex Jones, Coast to Coast, and everything else. Also, check us out on Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio in the TuneIn Radio app. That's the TuneIn Radio app, free in your favorite app store. Simply give us a favorite in the app. Press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. That's Hot News Talk Radio in the TuneIn Radio app. Listen like you mean it. I think the Cubs have to win tonight. When you are playing under pressure, when you're doing anything under pressure, life becomes very difficult. And I think the closer you get to the World Series and having a World Series victory, I think it becomes very pressure-packed if you're Chicago. Not so much if you're Cleveland, because like I mentioned before, the Cavs already got Cleveland a championship, and 48 years of not winning as opposed to 112. Yeah, the pressure's just not as strong on Cleveland. And I am a believer that pressure cracks people. And you might not think that the pressure gets to people, but it's hard to explain how the Cubs have managed to fail to get here before. Sure, you could go with the curse, right? The curse is a perfectly fine, valid, reasonable explanation, but I don't believe in curses. So now we got a problem. I'd like the more scientific approach to things. Why is it that the Cubs can never seem to get back here? Sure, some of it is bad luck, but some of it is just straight up pressure got to you. And now this is the closest that you've been in so long. Will the pressure get to Chicago? Because I tell you what, if you lose the game tonight, the pressure will mount. And every loss adds more pressure. This is true of most playoff situations, but most teams playing in championship scenarios aren't trying to break 112 years of not winning a championship. Most teams. So when you talk about losers in sports, right? Like you just do the word association game, right? Where I say a word, you say a word back to me. If I say losers in sports, I mean, you don't have to go very long before you find the Cubs. You might also go Cleveland Browns. But you won't have to go very long before you start talking Cubbies. And so this is very important. Obviously, I think more so for Chicago than not just Cleveland, than any other team in baseball, and has been more important for the last, 92 years. Because, when you have a 10-year drought between championships, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you. Lots of teams have 10-year droughts between championships in every sport. But when you start getting to 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 50 years, 75 years, 100 years, 112 years, yeah, it gets to be really, really important for you. I don't think the Cubs just need to come out and look good. I think the Cubs need to come out and win today, and for more reasons than just taking control of the World Series. That's just my take on that whole issue. But if you it'll be interesting to see who replaces the Cubs in the vacuum of loserdom. Because we talked about the city of Cleveland, and you feel so bad for the city of Cleveland, but you realize if the Indians win, they've got 2 championships in a year. It doesn't matter how bad the Browns are. We don't feel bad for them. And why do we feel bad for them in the first place? Don't those people have Ohio State that they root for up there? I understand college football's not as big in Ohio. Like a Browns Super Bowl would be a bigger deal than a Buckeyes national championship. But you guys aren't like the losingest people ever. Then you look at a city like Washington. The Redskins are bad. Haven't won anything. Wizards haven't won anything in forever. The Redskins have like the 80s and like that one Super Bowl in 91. Okay, fine. You do realize that every Super Bowl the Redskins have came courtesy of Joe Gibbs. They don't have any non-Joe Gibbs Super Bowls. To be clear. So they've got the 3 championships, but it's been 20 years. The Wizards have won from when they were the Bullets in 79. Nothing for the Nationals. Nothing for the Capitals. Georgetown and Maryland. I think Maryland got a basketball national title back in 2000. In a city with a bunch of professional sports teams. Why are we pitying Cleveland? I don't care how bad the Browns are. If the Indians win, y'all got 2 rings. I don't want to hear about you and your belly aching anymore. Come see me in another 40 years. If you haven't won again in another 40 years, come back and we'll talk. All right? Until then, I don't want to hear it from you folks anymore. I don't want to hear it. Be happy. Take your wins, man. And if we're going to talk about cities that I really don't feel bad for, I don't feel that bad for Chicago either. Like Cubs fans specifically, but you guys had Michael Jordan in the NBA. You had 6 glorious years of Michael Jordan championship rings. You had 2 separate three-peats. I really don't want to hear it from you either, to be honest. I'm just spitballing here. And speaking of the NBA, this is Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. The season starts tonight, and this is a basketball show. I will be telling you the things that I hope for this season and dread about this season already, and why the NBA and college football are more alike than I ever thought, and why that's not necessarily a good thing. We'll get to that stuff later. Here's what I hope for from the NBA season, right? What I hope for is angry Russell Westbrook. That is what I want. Nothing would make me happier than that. Trying to find a way to watch Russell Westbrook any night the Thunder are on. I think he's going to torch the NBA. I think he's going to burn the whole thing to the ground. Because here's the thing. Russell Westbrook plays angry. And Russell Westbrook plays well angry. And Russell Westbrook has, prior to this season, never actually had a good reason to be angry. He's never had a good reason to be angry. He was just angry, which was pretty cool that he was just fueling himself on pure rage that he made up. But now, Russell Westbrook is truly angry. There's some true emotion there. He feels truly betrayed. And I want to know what that Russell Westbrook looks like. And a Russell Westbrook with a supporting cast that can actually do something. Because if you recall that time that Kevin Durant went down with his foot injury and Russell Westbrook was trying to carry the Oklahoma City Thunder to the postseason, and he really couldn't do it because without Durant, they didn't have at that point the developed talent on their team to really contend and compete. Well, now you've got a team that really is capable of supporting and being that supporting cast to Russell Westbrook. And I think that you kind of lose that awkward thing that him and Durant had, where you would come down to the end of games and who's going to win it? Who's going to be the guy at the end of some of these games? And Russell Westbrook has got all of the confidence in the world. Oh, no, that's me. I got it. And I think we lambasted Russell Westbrook all the time. Like, Kevin Durant can't truly, honestly shine because you have more confidence than you really ought to. What the Thunder looked like when Kevin Durant went down and the team was Russell Westbrook's team versus what happened when Kevin Durant or when Westbrook went down and the team was Durant's team. When the team was Durant's team, they still had offensive firepower. They were truly potent. Durant is a more efficient scorer than Russell Westbrook is. And I think while I look forward to Russell Westbrook burning down the NBA, I mean, I honestly look forward to it. One of the things that I am not looking forward to is the Thunder season. I think that everybody believes that they're just going to be this loaded team, and with Russell Westbrook at the helm and the undisputed alpha dog of the team, that this team is just going to be a thorn in the side of the Warriors all season. They're going to be a strong contender, and I don't really see it. Russell Westbrook's game is not conducive to that. He does need another superstar with him to help him carry the load because he shoots so highly inefficiently. And if not another superstar, at least another all-star, a la getting Pau Gasol for Kobe Bryant. Getting another guy on that team that can carry the offensive load in a more efficient manner than he can. Because he's great. I mean, he's the most explosive athlete in the game. In a league that continues to draft highly explosive athletes, I think Russell Westbrook's the most explosive athlete in the game. More explosive than Blake, more explosive than LeBron. He's the most explosive athlete in the game. Period. But there is a certain level of which Russell Westbrook will just take any shot. And when he's hot, he's hot. And when he's not, he's not. And we're going to see a lot of the flaws of Russell Westbrook like we've never seen them before, which is only hilarious because now Russell Westbrook has never engendered more goodwill than when Kevin Durant left. Because this whole time we were like, look at Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook a ball hog. Russell Westbrook's not letting Kevin Durant shine. Russell Westbrook is doing this, that, and the other thing. And I'm looking at the same Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant leaves, and Russell Westbrook is a hero. They extend his contract, and Russell Westbrook looks like a hero. Never mind that when Russell Westbrook's contract is finally up, Russell Westbrook might just himself bounce to another city. But regardless, Kevin Durant went, and he went to the Warriors. Now, I've had conversation with people all summer about this topic. Conversations with people in Chattanooga. And the general consensus of most people is Kevin Durant. Look, we can have this nuanced conversation. Kevin Durant made the decision that was best for Kevin Durant. He saw himself with an opportunity to go to a team that could win a championship, that could afford to have him, a team where this is not one of those things where you take a superstar and cram him onto a team and try and see and if you can divine how it fits. It fits. Kevin Durant actually fits on this team. Kevin Durant's not a guy that needs to take a billion shots to score a ton of points. Like I said before, very efficient scorer. Kevin Durant's not that guy. Kevin Durant is a guy that has never played in structure before and would actually be in tune with the idea of playing in structure. This is not a grind for him. This is all new. That Kevin Durant is joining a jump shooting team, he himself being an excellent jump shooter and has the ability to drive to the basket. Okay, because he's got that wicked crossover for a guy that size. I mean, this is a great fit. Plain and simple. The problem that we have with Kevin Durant is, and I've talked to so many people about this, and this is not even my own original idea. I don't even necessarily agree. But the general consensus is Kevin Durant's a punk. Dude's a punk. How do you go to the team that beat you in the finals? And this is what Charles Barkley talks about all the time when Charles is talking about how back in the day, we didn't get together. We didn't form super teams. We were not friends with each other. We wanted to beat each other down in order to get a championship. Now, never mind that the lack of nuance to that, which is that you would have formed super teams if your CBA would have allowed it. It didn't allow it. Your contracts were longer. It didn't allow it. Okay? Charles Barkley played in Philadelphia But when Charles Barkley had the opportunity to go, Charles Barkley found himself on a couple of teams chasing a ring. He didn't necessarily, have the interviews that guys have now, but the game's different. The off the court and on the court game is different. A lot of these older guys that are complaining about how Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and how we would never have done that back in our day didn't have the opportunity to do that back in their day. And maybe they still wouldn't have, because the league really was different. The league really was tougher. Dudes really were meaner. Okay, as Charles Oakley is not, there's nobody in the NBA now that is Oakley. There's nobody in the NBA now that's Ben Wallace, and Ben Wallace wasn't even mean. He was just the enforcer. We don't even have that in the NBA now. You don't need it. The rules protect you. So you don't need an enforcer. You don't need Charles Oakley in the corner. You don't even need Charles Barkley punching you in the face. The rules protect the players. But the game has changed. The guys really were tougher. And I understand that maybe you wouldn't have, but this is the NBA world that Kevin Durant lives in. This is what it's allowed him to do, and he's gone and done it. That being said, I'm starting to agree. Kevin Durant kind of a punk. And not even because he went to the Warriors. It's because Kevin Durant is making it so that I'm about to be tired of the Warriors already, which is crazy. Because I know if you listen to this show during the second half of the NBA season last year, like I talked about the Warriors every other day. Any day that they were on, I talked about them. I watched the Warriors every day. I watched the Warriors play more than my own team that I root for. I am tired of the Warriors already. They keep shoving the mic in Kevin Durant's face, which Kevin can't help. But Kevin Durant keeps saying stuff, which he definitely can help. And he needs to stop saying things about, it's so great to play in a structured offense now. And just all of this extra stuff that you don't have to do. Stop talking. Literally let your play tell the story. Because the words that are coming out of your mouth, you're just creating unnecessary drama. And if there's anything that I don't like, it's unnecessary drama. There is a place for actual drama in your life. And also on movie screen. But in basketball, if you are going to have drama, bro, that better be something that actually happened to you and not just something you decided to tell a reporter to stir the pot a little bit. That being said, that bad guy stuff makes you a lot of money. Just ask LeBron. Top 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. This is the NBA show, and we'll be back.
Hot News Talk 1240 AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, with your chance to win $124 in cash and $124 in food every week with the Hot News Talk Radio 1, 2, 3 NASCAR contest. Hot News Talk 1240. All you have to do is guess who's going to be first, second, and third place in the upcoming NASCAR Sprint Cup race. If you guess it, you'll hear your name live Monday morning at 11:30. Then call AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio to win. Enter your guess right now at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. Diesel Off-Road Technology Sonny Daisy. For your four-wheel drive and truck needs, stuff and upholstery with premium rubber foam. Amigos Mexican Restaurant next to Staples and Hickson. Drink specials during the race. Cell Surgeon, the Broken Screen Doc. And Shooter's Supply, 4824 Hickson Pike in Hickson. Hot News Talk 1240. Enter your guesses now and then listen to the race live to win $124 in cash and $124 in food from Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. I love NASCAR. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has the cash when you sell gold, silver, diamonds, rings, and jewelry. Sell Rick your precious metals today and lock in your price. Hey, Rick Davis will trade your cash for shiny, brilliant, and heavy gold. Gold cheaper now by $100 an ounce. Join the Rick Davis Silver Bonanza too. Prices so low, the Lone Ranger is bound to gallop in, Kimo Sabe.
Hey-ho, silver, away!
The markets are changing, so buy now. Cash, 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 and more cash for your silver and gold, gold, gold. Rick Davis, 5301 Brainerd Road. That's 5301 Brainerd Road. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Oh, and cash, cash, cash. You know where it is.
Hey-ho, silver, away!
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
Expect mostly clear skies to continue through your nighttime hours. Cool again overnight, lows mid and upper 40s. For Tuesday, another warm, dry day. Lots of sunshine, highs into the upper 70s. Still looking dry and warm for Wednesday as well, highs near 77. America seems to be unraveling at a rapid pace. Dr. Ron Phillips pulls back the curtain and exposes those who are pulling the strings in his explosive book, The Unraveling of America, available now at Amazon or ronphillips.org. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Pat Report. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A man accused in the robbery of the credit union on Gun Barrel Road has been arrested. The second suspect now arrested. Police say the vehicle used by the robbers was rented from a company where McGee had been an employee at one point. Mr. McGee is the suspect. Inside that car, they found a gun, a toboggan hat, and one of the victim's purses. Police didn't have to work very hard for a confession, though. They say he called his family from jail, not realizing the call would be recorded, and confessed to his family that he did, in fact, rob that credit union on Gun Barrel Road. A man in St. Elmo punctured by a bullet and pronounced dead by police on scene. When the police got there, he was already succumbed. They say the shooting on Florida Avenue is not gang-related, but they do believe the suspect is still somewhere on the loose. Police in Cleveland say that a body has been found inside of a creek at 11:30 on Monday. They do not know the identity of that body at this point, and they've not revealed the cause of death. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops a right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocks him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
It's time for a shameless plug. I'm shamelessly shilling for this other show that I do on this radio station every Thursday night after this show, 8 to 9, Two Millennials Talk with our news director, Russell Stroud, and myself. We go through a varying degree of topics. I mean, we are guys with a lot of opinions on anything, and of course, we've got a millennial perspective on stuff, and that's just to be expected. We are in our 20s. Okay, we can't help that we don't know things. However, if you want to call and disagree, that's 423-800-8949 is the Hot News hotline, 423-800-8949. And that's not just for that show, that's for this show. Currently, if you have any takes on any of the basketball things that I have just mentioned, please, by all means. So I have an opinion on the SEC and the NBA. And not just the SEC in the NBA, college football in the NBA. Because college football this season is not doing what I want it to. Which, that sounds like one of the things that people mock millennials for. It's not doing what I want it to. Wah. Look, listen to me, all right? I have expectations of stuff, and when that stuff does not meet my expectations, I am justifiably upset. And you are too. And you want to know how I know you are? Because music. That's right. You have a favorite artist. And at some point, that artist's new music is not going to vibe with you. That new music is going to be disappointing. Or you're going to say something like, or maybe have said in your life something like, yeah, but it's not as good as his old stuff. And do you know why you said that? Because you had an expectation and it was not met. College football and me have this one expectation. I have always had this expectation of college football. And that expectation is this. I don't know how the season is going to end. That is my favorite thing about college football. Because you can be fairly certain when you go into an NBA season how that season's going to go down. Are we not all really kind of sort of sure that the Warriors and the Cavaliers are going to meet in the NBA Finals for a third year? When LeBron James went to Miami, weren't we pretty certain that Miami was going to be in the NBA Finals that year? And every other year that LeBron was down there. In fact, weren't we certain that when he went back to Cleveland, that Cleveland was going to be back? Like, there is a certain level of expectation that we had that got met in the NBA because that's how basketball works. There's not as many players on the field, on the court, on the field of play, if you want to say. And so one superstar can control the game more forcefully. We feel like we know how it's going to end. And everything else is just riding the roller coaster to get to that point. Like everything else in the NBA season, all 82 games and the playoffs, are you sitting on a roller coaster on the part that goes up? Click, 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 to get to the top so that you can finally scream and go down the roller coaster. And of course, as usual, that part lasts like 2 seconds, right? That's how it is at roller coasters. You wait in line forever, then you get on the ride, and the ride, you go uphill, and you're doing that forever, and then finally you go downhill. That's the fun part, and it's over in 6 seconds. That's the NBA season, and we're all aware of this, and we all feel like we know this. College football and I have a different relationship than that, which is that I have no clue whatsoever how any of that is going to end. And once they added the playoff, they made it even crazier. Now, I really don't know. One loss too late in the season blows you away. You've got no chance to make it, right? You've got these weird playoff rules where they're like, look, you don't have to win your conference to make it to the playoff. And at the same time, we're going to give an edge to conference champions, which means you kind of do have to win your conference, but you could if you did. Like, there's just all of this random stuff. Throw all that stuff into a pot, and what do you have? You have carnage. You have a bunch of teams trying really hard not to lose. And you know what? Somebody's losing. That's the best part about college football. I don't know who's going to wind up in the college football playoff this year outside of Alabama. Oh, the exception to my rule. The cause of my disappointment. The one team that's making college football like the NBA. Because college, you're supposed to have ups and downs, right, with your recruiting classes. And you might have a great quarterback and you're Miss State. Look how good you are. And now look, you're booty again because you don't have Dak Prescott anymore. That's kind of how this all goes, your ebbs and your flows. And Alabama was supposed to fall off this year. They lost a good number of really solid players to the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. And they never really had that whole quarterback thing figured out. And you figured, well, why not? Why not this year for Alabama to fall off a little bit? And Alabama did the exact opposite of fall off. They now, in fact, look better than what they did last year. This is a more dynamic offense, a more explosive team. And their defense does not stop scoring. The defense scores every game. It is right now as reliable as the sunrise. Every single week, Bama's defense scores. You can count on it. Every single week, to the point where, are we not sure this whole national title thing is a formality? Because I remember that time that Alabama and Notre Dame went to the national title game. And that was that other year that this whole college football thing disappointed me. Because it felt like about halfway through the season, oh yeah, we know it's going to be Bama and Notre Dame. We just kind of feel like it's them. And look, it was them. Usually, you can be pretty certain who the national champion representatives are going to be, but you can't be really certain. And you know what I feel like right now is happening? That I'm really certain. And I don't like that for college football. I've come to accept it in the NBA. I don't like it in college football. It does not compute with me because that's not the expectation that I have of that. In the NBA, you've come to expect your team's got Michael Jordan. Guess who's going to the finals? You. That's just how it is. You've got Larry Bird. You're probably going to the finals. Like, you have to be the Detroit Pistons and fighting constantly. And even then, it just took Father Time and the Celtics eventually getting kind of old while you were getting to your peak to get a shot. You got Magic Johnson on your team, you're going to the finals. You've got Shaq and Kobe, finals. Book it. You've got it. I mean, that's about as cut and dry as it gets. You've got prime Shaq and Kobe. You're going to the finals. Bill Jackson is your head coach. You're going to the finals. The college football should not have these kind of guarantees. And it usually doesn't. Like, look at Ole Miss this season. Did anybody else in the world look at Ole Miss at the beginning of this season and go, yeah, about 7 games in, I think they're going to be 3-4? I don't think so. I didn't think so. Ole Miss, 3-4. You've got Chad Kelly. And look, Ole Miss this season could get worse. I'm not sure if they can beat Auburn. Like, the things look really bad for them. They cannot stop the run. And Auburn's turned back into a running juggernaut after starting in the season, God knows what that was. I don't know what that was to even start the season with them. But that's what I'm saying about how in college football, you think you know, and then in reality, you don't know. You know how many people picked LSU to win the SEC West? I don't think anybody saw Les Miles getting fired the way he got fired, quite like he did. I mean, the offense looked really bad. LSU looked really bad. Dude got run. I figured we'd get to the end of the season, and if LSU was just not in contention, then guess what? Les Miles is gone. Didn't figure that 3 weeks in, Ed Orgeron, who sounds like Cajun Cookie Monster, would be coaching the LSU Tigers. A job that man clearly intends to keep, by the way. He's coaching like he's trying to keep that job. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That is my gripe. So let's get back to some of the things that I hope for and fear for the season. One of the things that I hope for this season, and my fear is also connected to it, is that whole New York Knicks thing works out. I think the NBA is good when the Knicks are good. The Knicks remind me of the Vols. There's a long stretch of time where Tennessee was just not good. I don't have to go through the history. I think you all know it. And look, you guys know I think the SEC is better when Tennessee is good. I think the NBA is better when the Knicks are good because of their traditional power and because of the suffering and how long those fans have stuck with that team, despite how horrible they have been. But there's an experiment happening in New York, and I don't know that that's going to work. You've got Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, who we don't know if he's good anymore or can play defense at the elite level that he was. You've got Carmelo Anthony. You've got Kristaps Porzingis. And you've got the very delusional Derrick Rose calling the team a super team and saying, I think everyone's being too hasty to call this team a super team. And like, Derrick, nobody was calling the team a super team. You were calling the team a super team. That's not on us. Don't pin that on us. We didn't want any of that. I didn't ask for that. I didn't call you a super team. I don't know if your team is super. I know that your team has talent, but like I mentioned before with Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, how that looks like a great fit. He already does what they do. And he's willing to buy in to what they do. With the Knicks, I don't know if you could have combined a greater group of guys who don't do what the other guy does well. And not in a complimentary kind of way either, where you're picking up the slack for me right here at the radio station. We all wear a lot of different hats, but some of us are better at technical things. Some of us are better at editing. Some of us know stuff about sports. In this way, we complement each other. The Knicks don't complement each other because Derrick Rose drives to the basket. Carmelo Anthony, low block to three-point shooting. Kristaps Porzingis, sort of everything, but also being 7 feet tall. Joakim Noah, defensive specialist. But if you subtract Joakim Noah from that equation, what do three of those guys have in common? They kind of all need the ball to be effective, which takes away anything complimentary about their games that might already fit together. Just takes away anything complimentary. I'm not a fan. I don't see it. I'm looking at it and I'm like, I hope it all works out. I am a Derrick Rose fan. I like the guy's game, but he's not an efficient shooter either. Like when you look at what it is that Russell Westbrook has done, Derrick Rose's MVP season looks very much like Russell Westbrook when Durant went down. It's very similar. And so, volume shooting Derrick Rose. You've got a more efficient shooter in Carmelo Anthony, but he's still going to take a lot of shots. Unless you just relegate Kristaps Porzingis to put back dunks. He's going to need his post-ups because big guys just do. To put back dunks and corner threes, I think you're going to have to post the guy up because when you've got a size advantage that huge with a guy like Kristaps who's that talented, I think you got to use it. I think Joakim's happy not scoring necessarily, but you're going to need at some point, matchups will cause you to rely on Joakim and his broken-looking jumper. That works for some reason. It's a hideous jumper, but it works for some reason. Okay? And he plays that point forward position so nicely. This is a team that you put a bunch of chemicals in the little tube, and what you're hoping is that, it changes color. What could happen is the whole thing just explodes in everybody's faces. And I don't know which one we're going to get. No idea. It's the Eastern Conference, so it'll be even more obscure. We're not going to be able to know if this team is good for most of the season. Unless they come right out the gate and just stink, we're not going to be certain that they're actually good. To be honest with you. So that's one of my hopes and fears. Another one of my hopes and fears for the season, let's bring this one back a little bit more local. Atlanta, the Hawks, Dwight Howard. I hope he's good. I hope that offense can really work through him and run through him. But you know what? I'm scared because Dwight Howard, who wants to post up like a traditional big man, has never in his career been a traditional big man. And when he has posted up like a traditional big man, he has been horrendous. He has been just god awful. I mean, there is no level of verbiage to describe how terrible he's been at posting up, to the point where you're like, he maybe shouldn't do it. That, and when you add to the fact that Dwight Howard is fairly injury prone, I don't know what you can expect out of Dwight Howard in Atlanta. He's not in his prime. Orlando Magic Dwight Howard was the best we saw of Dwight Howard. And I contend to this day it's because Stan Van Gundy was his coach and knew how to work around him. And Dwight Howard didn't want lobs, right? Dwight Howard didn't want to be DeAndre Jordan and Tyson Chandler. Dwight Howard wanted to be the guy. He wanted to be Shaq. He wanted to be Wilt. He wanted to be Dirk. He wanted to be a guy, you throw the ball into me on the low block, and I'm going to hit him with some kind of unguardable move. But you know what? You're not those guys. That's not your game. And it worked for like half a second in Houston. And I mean exactly 1/2 of 1 second. Before it just kind of came to the point where, like, no, Dwight Howard really can't play with James Harden, who needs the ball a lot, while Dwight Howard is demanding post-ups. That's never been his game. Why start now? And I feel like that's what he's going to want. Why else would he go to Atlanta? That's where he's from. Dwight Howard is now at the point in his career where the big checks are not going to be coming anymore. This is about comfort. This is about being able to do what he wants. And maybe Coach Bud is going to be able to acquiesce to that a little bit. But most likely, if Dwight Howard and the post-ups aren't working, we're about to see disgruntled Dwight Howard real quick. And you know what? You're an NBA fan around here. I don't think that that's something that you want. I don't know that that's necessarily something that you really want out there for you, is Dwight Howard post-ups. And you're going to see enough of them. And I don't know how this works with the chemistry of the Hawks, but I do know that Dwight Howard is undisputedly the guy in the middle. That's not up for debate. So if Dwight Howard wanted that debate settled, fine. He is the guy in the middle. He is the one Hawk that is not taking jumpers. He's not shooting. He's just trying to get those dunks. If Dwight Howard can dunk anymore, if his back will allow him to dunk anymore. So my hope for the season, that this whole Dwight Howard thing in Atlanta kind of works out. It does look like it maybe could, and you've got a coach and Coach Bud who's very strategic and from that Greg Popovich system, everybody moves around. I think Dwight Howard's got a place on that team. But my fear for that team and my fear for the season of that team is that none of that stuff works out quite the way that you want it to. And then I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to be selfish and hog the last few minutes of this show and talk about the team that I root for. That is the Washington Wizards. Again, this is the basketball episode because I want to. We'll get back to football talk tomorrow. I just want to talk about the NBA. It's the first day of the NBA season. Okay? I don't really have a hope and fear of the season for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think they'll be middling again. I think they've got a lot of young players. There'll be a time very soon where we'll be talking about the Lakers and how great they are. But until that time, no, I'm not going to dedicate any time to them. So, sorry, Lakers fans. But I'll see you guys at some point later in the season when undoubtedly Nick Young is doing some foolishness ridiculously. Regardless, the Wizards. My hope for the season, that hiring Scott Brooks is the antidote to everything wrong about the Wizards. From the fact that they had a coach that didn't want to shoot threes, to the fact that offensively, really, they had like 3 plays. And once those 3 plays did not work, dribble, fire up a shot before the shot clock ends. Not fun. Like offensively inept like you would not believe. And I'm upset because I feel like they're wasting the prime of John Wall on some of these losing teams. They don't have any players worth a whole lot right now. You could say Bradley Beal, but Bradley Beal is going to have his annual injury that he always has. You can count on it. Bradley Beal has one injury per year. You can mark it like the time, like the changing of the moon, okay? He's going to have his annual injury